May the words of my mouth and the meditations of each heart be holy and acceptable in your sight, O Lord, our strength and our Redeemer. Amen. Not too long ago, I had a dream, one of those that wakes you up in the middle of the night. In the dream, I was in a home with Erica, my wife, and our kids. Looking out the window, I saw not just one, but a line of tornadoes, ruining everything in their path. Panicked, frightened, I began pulling my family around the house, desperately searching for some place to take shelter. The sounds of the winds and destruction outside growing increasingly loud, and I couldn't find a place to hide. I couldn't find a place to keep us safe until I saw a door. I opened it and found it led down to some kind of cellar. So down we all went, and it kept going, and it kept going, and it became a tunnel with walls of stone. The further down we went, the sounds of the destruction outside disappeared. It was just silence. Finally, I saw the glow of a light, the flicker of flames on the sides of the walls, and then we found ourselves in a room with a small group of monks who had set a table of food. They welcomed us as if they had been waiting there all along. Now, before you start thinking, great, Jared's getting all woo-woo with dream stuff now, should we expect this in every sermon? No, of course not. I do not believe every dream is something to investigate and consider. For example, I once had a dream that I opened a Mark Twain-themed Chinese food restaurant. It's true, I was walking around in my dream watching all these people eat my Chinese food with photos of Mark Twain all over the walls, and the name of the restaurant in the dream, you ready? Walk Twain. Now, I have no intention of opening such a restaurant, but I am learning sometimes there are things going on in our hearts and minds, those deep, sacred places within us that come alive in imaginative and symbolic ways in our dreams. My spiritual director is helping me see this, that God, in His mercy, uses any means possible to awaken us to growth. So why not our dreams sometimes too? And so when I shared that first dream with my spiritual director, it unfolded into this very rich conversation about certain struggles and fears in my life, some things I've even tried to hide from. And it seems, even in our running and hiding, God finds a way to reach us, to welcome us. And quite often we run smack dab into Him without even expecting it. These two disciples from the Gospel of Luke this morning, they're running, looking for a place to hide. They've left Jerusalem, making their way to Emmaus. You can hear them talking to each other. They're on the road. Well, it was wonderful while it lasted. Poor Jesus. Poor, pitiful Jesus, to die in such a way on a cross. Who would have thought? We almost got Him elected Messiah. We came so close, all that love and forgiveness and healing, and to talk about the reign of God, I guess it was all just another prophet's broken dream. But what do you make of what the women and the others were saying about that empty tomb? Did you hear that? Yeah, I sure heard that. I don't know. What do you think of it? Oh, I don't know. Sounds too good to be true. And they picked up the pace, wanting to get to Emmaus, discouraged, sorrowful, afraid. Emmaus for these two seems to be a place to go run and hide, away from Jerusalem, away from everything happening. Now, we have no way to definitively know where Emmaus was. Oh, sure, some scholars have their educated guesses, but no one knows for sure. And then there's this. One of the earliest manuscripts of Luke's gospel doesn't even have the word Emmaus. It has these two disciples on their way to Oulamaios, which is the Greek translation of the place where Jacob was visited by God when he was running and hiding from his brother Esau. alone, scared, exiled from his family, and there in that place he lays his head on a rock and dreams of angels ascending and descending up and down a ladder, and he's reminded of God's presence in his life. Isn't that interesting? So, okay, we don't know for sure the exact location, but maybe it doesn't matter. Because what does matter is wherever or whatever Emmaus was, it was the place these two disciples were going to hide with all their longing and their fears and their brokenheartedness. And it struck me, reflecting on this, that all of us, you and I, all of us, we have Emmauses in our lives. Places we go to run and hide from all the things that are difficult, painful, and challenging. Addictions, old memories, unhealthy relationships, social media, consumerism, jobs, roles, false identities, on and on. There are Emmauses in our lives. But look what happens in this story. In the midst of their running and hiding, a stranger shows up. They don't recognize him. They don't know him yet. He's talking to them, asking questions, and then he starts interpreting the scriptures, and they invite him in. They invite him in. They get to Emmaus, their place of hiding, and invite him in. And he breaks bread with these two disciples, and guess what? It's Jesus. The scriptures read, their eyes were opened. Have you ever had a moment like that? Where you were looking but not really seeing until you did? You saw something for what it really was. And they not only see Jesus, but they recognize the transformation that is occurring within them. Were not our hearts burning inside us, they said. See, they unknowingly invite Jesus into their place of longing, fear, and brokenheartedness, and gradually he makes his presence known. And so they go back. They go back to Jerusalem, back to community to celebrate the resurrection with others. You know, there's this question lingering in my mind the past week preparing for this sermon. And the question is this. Jared, between hiding out in your Emmaus or celebrating the resurrection in community, which disciple are you going to be? And of course, I want to be the disciple celebrating the resurrection. I mean, who of us doesn't want that, right? So I answered the question in my mind over and over. The one celebrating resurrection. The one celebrating resurrection. But that response, it still felt contrived. Like I was missing something. Or maybe I was looking, but not really seeing. Until yesterday evening. I was sitting on my back porch and I heard this stilling, subtle voice. If you want to be that type of disciple, then invite me into your longing, fear, and brokenheartedness. Because I have things to teach you if you would just trust me. I don't know about you, but that kind of trust is hard for me. You know, Christianity for so long has made Jesus a figure of our adoration that I think we forget a lot that he longs to be our companion. And more than my worship, I'm beginning to see what Jesus really wants is my trust. Besides, if I don't trust him, then my worship is in vain. St. Andrew's, one of the things the resurrection means for our lives is we don't have to run and hide anymore. We don't have to be so afraid. We can invite Jesus into these tough, painful places and trust his abiding and transforming presence. And although this life will break our hearts, and it most assuredly will, we are not meant to be left to our longing, fear, and brokenheartedness. We are meant to see and celebrate resurrection. to take that long, often hard road out of Emmaus, and to live a life with him beyond even our wildest dreams. Amen.